Hello everyone, and thank you for tuning into TradeChat. This is just a quick video I want to make talking about the Blizzard announcement. Of course, on August 6th at 9 a.m. Pacific time, there's going to be a live stream from Gamescom where World of Warcraft, Blizzard is going to be announcing the next expansion, which is very exciting. I'm also angry. I have a lot of feelings. Like, obviously, in my very last World of Warcraft video, I was like, no way are they going to do that to us. They would never do that to us. And then they went and did it to us, and I'm confused. I have a lot of confused feelings because I'm obviously excited because I'm a big fan of World of Warcraft and it's always exciting to hear about the expansion, but then like, it's not at BlizzCon, so there's those feelings too. I don't know. I just have a lot of feelings, okay? But all of that aside, this video is going to be about my speculations about what they could possibly be announcing or what could possibly be coming. And I just want to disclaimer, this is not factual. This is speculation or internet theories or fan theories or internet leaks. And anything that you see in World of Warcraft that is leaked, you need to take with so much salt, like a cup of salt, like a cup and a half maybe of salt, because there's so many weird things that pop up on the internet that aren't true. What do you mean? People go on the internet and tell lies? Who would do such a thing? You get it. You get what I'm saying. So anyways, coming up is the expansion, of course, and there's a few possible lore themes that could be involved in all of this. And I'm going to talk about the two big ones. The first one I'm going to talk about is Council of Glades. Now, this was possibly copyrighted by Blizzard on July 25th. And I say possibly because it's very unclear whether it was a real copyright that was leaked internally or whether it was an edited PDF to throw everybody off. There's a lot of speculation about Council of Glades and not Council of the Glades. It's kind of weird language. Who knows? It could be nothing, but there's a lot of cool lore stuff that goes on with these three words, so let's talk a little bit about it. The new Council of Tearsfall, whatever, you get it. The new Council of Tearsfall was formed to protect Azeroth from demons, which makes really good sense in the timeline we're in right now because we're not scheduled to kill Gul'dan in Warlords of Draenor, so it would be kind of good timing to talk about the new Council of Tearsfall because there's demons and it's Gul'dan's fault. You get it. If this is the theme of the expansion, the Council of Tearsfall, we're going to see a lot of Khadgar, which again makes really good sense because he's been very present in the legendary quest in Warlords of Draenor, and Grona and Medivh and their son Medan, who is a super cool figure in Warcraft history because he is a quarter orc and a quarter Draenei because of his mother Grona, and then he's also half human because of his father Medivh, and he's super powerful, and it's just, he's a cool character, and he showed up a lot in the comics, and they've kind of hinted in the past that he could possibly be in the game, but they're not going to really say anything. If this happens, the final boss of the expansion could possibly be Medivh while he is possessed by Sargeras, and we could be helping King Lane and Khadgar kill him and relieve him of his possession. And then in the lore, Aegwen, who is Medivh's mother, resurrects him, but just his spirit after he's killed, and then he kind of shows up as a prophet throughout different stories. So it could be a very interesting final boss, a very interesting cutscene. And again, speculation. This is not anything that I know things about. These are just kind of guesses and theories. This is my personal favorite fan theory about what the next expansion is going to be, though, because a lot of players have speculated that in this alternate timeline we're in right now in Warlords of Draenor, that the Khadgar we know is not really Khadgar. He's actually Medivh in a magical disguise, which is really interesting. And then we've had a lot of Garona in our stories, so if we've had this disguised Medivh and Garona, we've got a really good setup for them to have a baby. A Council of the Glades expansion would follow the Warlords of Draenor expansion in a very logical way, which I guess could mean it's not happening because Blizzard, am I right? Plus, there were some setups to this that were implemented back in Cataclysm, which if you're interested in, Danger Dolan did a video about it. It's about the Whispering Forest in Tearsfall Glades, and the Blizzard developers have actually responded to some feedback about this, saying that that area is evil and that there's something underneath it, but nobody will say what it is. We know it's not an old god, so it could have something to do with demons or possibly Sargeras himself or who knows? It could just be very, very interesting. If we had an expansion that had to do with like Tears Fall, we would obviously see Sylvanas, maybe her sisters, maybe the Scourge, maybe Arthas would be back, like pre-Lich King Arthas, like Arthas good guy Arthas. So I just think it could be really interesting and a lot of fun. I think people would really love an expansion that had to do with like undead and the Scourge happening. Sylvanas is obviously a wildly popular lore figure, and I think that Medan would be such an interesting character to have an expansion really like, I don't want to say focused around, but like to have him be such a prominent figure when he's so different than everybody else. I just think it would be really interesting. And plus everybody wants to like fight Sargeras. Like that would be the like epitome of the World of Warcraft experience, even though we've kind of been told in the past, like, no, he's too powerful, you can't do it. But again, anytime Blizzard says anything, you kind of have to pick apart all of their language, because you're right, maybe we cannot personally fight the Sargeras by ourselves, but maybe we could like team up with some other big lore characters and like kind of have them be part of our raid where we're helping them. And I mean, yes, they said we couldn't, but that leaves a lot of room for interpretation that we could with help. I don't know. Of course, the other big fan theory is the Dark Prophet or the Eye of Ajara. I've got some notes written down here if you see me kind of glancing away. I'm trying to do this in one take because I want to keep it real with you guys. I don't want it to be like scripted. So I just have some things written down that I wanted to make sure that I talked about, which reminds me, another reason, going back to Council of Glades, another reason why I think this could be it, and this could be the thing, is because a lot of the characters line up with the Warcraft movie, and if they're making this announcement in August, we can expect beta by November. We could expect this game to be out by April or May, and then the Warcraft movie comes out in June, and we're seeing, you know, if it was Council of Glades, we'd be seeing Medivh, Khadgar, Garona, King Lane, Rin, and Anduin Lothar, who are all huge main characters in the Warcraft movie. So I think that would be a really smart decision on their part. So I think that's another reason why it could be a thing. Back to what I was talking about a second ago, the Dark Prophet or Eye of Ajara is another very popular fan theory. Of course, this was the big like leak that was on like MMO Champion, Reddit, 4chan, all of those places. Again, anything that you see that's a leak, you have to take with a grain of salt. Like tinfoil hat theory, do not expect it to be like biblical truth. It could be, but we don't know that until we actually know that. The Eye of Ajara was actually trademarked back in October of 2014, so it's more likely that the name of the expansion, if it was this, would be Eye of Ajara over the Dark Prophet, but who really knows. If it was the expansion, we would be seeing Zul and Ajara as the main villains and Malfurion and Vol'jin as the main heroes, so this would be like a very like troll-centric, night elf-centric expansion, which I think would be a really nice change from Orcs and Humans. It seems that Alliance-y type expansions tend to be more popular than Horde expansions. I don't know if that's just because the Alliance have like better lore, or I don't know, but this could fill a good gap that we have in the game right now. This would probably be a very South Sea, like Buccaneer pirate type expansion. And what makes this very believable is that they could use that garrison shipyard type tech to have you have some sort of like pirate fleet where you had pirates and like followers in that way. Although from the theories that I've been reading, it sounds like people think like, oh, well, you'll like, you know, you'll embark on your first quest from your shipyard. And I don't think that Blizzard would gate it like that, where you have to have the garrison, you have to have the shipyard, you have to have done Tanaan stuff in order to access the next expansion. So I don't think that that would be a thing, but it does make sense that they would want to re-implement that garrison tech some way, because they did put so much into it, whether people liked it or not. So this could be a very interesting expansion. I'm sure anybody who is Horde would love to see Vol'jin really step up and do something awesome, and everybody loves Malfurion. Horde Alliance, no matter who you are, Malfurion's an awesome character, so this could be a very popular lore expansion. So I'm really hoping it's one of these two things. I don't know. I have no insider information, unfortunately, but I think either of these two ideas for an expansion would be great. I'm obviously leaning towards the Tears Fall one. I would love to see that Scourge and just just like demons and zombies. I'm into it, okay? Like, you got me. But let's talk about some things that are not specifically lore related. Like, I don't think we're getting a new race this expansion, but if we were, I want to talk about some possible ideas. High Elves, if Council of Glaives is the next expansion, High Elves could possibly be a candidate because we would be in an alternate timeline and they could be a neutral race that Horde or Alliance could have. There is a separate model in the game right now that is neither a Blood Elf or a Night Elf. It's a High Elf. It's kind of in between the two. And I think that with a different racial and stuff, it could be a really popular class, even though it's very similar to one that's already in game. I mean, let's be honest, like humans, gnomes, and dwarves are super similar too, but they're in the game. So I think High Elves could be in the game as a new race. If the Dark Prophet or Eye of Ajara is the expansion, we could see Naga. And then a couple that are kind of offshoots that I don't think would happen, but they could, is maybe like ogres. There's obviously like they have casting animations for ogres, although my personal thoughts on that is that ogres are very commonly portrayed as being like so stupid. So it would be very odd to me to have like a player like controlling an orc and being an orc, because it's not like the old warrior joke, like, warriors can't use intellect and chance because then their weapons would be smarter than them. It's like, literally, ogres are like, not, I don't think they would be, like, it just wouldn't make sense to me that they would be, like, contributing members of a team from a lore standpoint. This expansion, Warlords of Draenor, we got a whole mess of, like, Arakoa animations. There's obviously a bunch of Arakoa toys where people can transform into them. So it would be kind of cool to have Arakoa as a playable race, but it wouldn't really fit into the lore of either of those expansions. What might fit is a hybrid race, which would be, like, my ultimate. I've been talking about hybrid races for, like, 3 years. My ultimate, I would love that. I think hybrid races would be like the sickest thing ever. I think a big reason why people feel like there's a lack of content in Warlords of Draenor is because they didn't add anything. Like almost every expansion, we either get a race or a class, which brings a big part of the population back to re-level and kind of gets them out of that max level content, which makes them appreciate it more when they're there. And because we didn't get a new race or class this expansion, I feel like people felt a little bit like, oh, well, I'm here. And then on top of it, they introduced the instant boost. So it gave people no reason to level at all. So that's like, I think that's a lot of the reason why this expansion feels like less bulky than other ones. Personal thoughts, though. Like I said, it's not based on facts or statistics. That's just how I feel. So I think that one of the ways they could have improved on Warlords of Draenor is to add a class, like even just to add a race, not a class. Have I been saying class this whole time? Because I meant race. Anyways, I think if they had added a new race, even if it was just something like maybe the orcs before they were fel corrupted, like brown orcs, which sounds kind of racist, but I don't mean it like that, obviously. But like if they had added like brown and tan and tattooed orcs prior to their fel corruption, and then the like fel corrupted Draenor, like the red with the green hooves and stuff like that, even though they would just be recolors, they could have different racials, and it would have given people a reason to get out of Draenor, to get out of new content and level. But I digress. I don't think there's going to be a new race this expansion, but I do think there's going to be a new class because we haven't had one in a while, and we obviously got a race and a class in Mists of Pandaria, which whatever, but I would really love to see a new race this expansion, and I think we're going to get one. I think some solid like things that will be part of the new class are that they will use Mail, because right now Mail only has hunters and shamans that are vying for it, whereas Cloths has priests and mages and warlocks. So there's like multiple classes using cloth. There's monks and rogues and druids that all use leather, and there's paladins and warriors and death knights that all use plates. So Mail has a spot kind of open. Also right now in the game, there's only one class that can use ranged weapons. That's obviously hunters. It used to be that warriors and rogues could also use ranged weapons, but they changed that. So I feel like they really need to put another class in the game that uses ranged weapons, because right now there's a really low incentive for Blizzard to have them in the game and to have people rolling on them, because it's like, oh, the hunter gets the bow. Real interesting. And I also think we're going to need a healing spec. From my personal experience, we've had trouble keeping healers around. I think healing is in a weird place right now, and I think a new healer would kind of breathe new life into healing as an ability. I don't think we need any new tanks. We have like, because monks can tank, Death Knights can tank, Paladins can tank, Warriors can tank, Druids can tank, literally like half the classes in the game can tank. So I think that it'll be a DPS healer, and I have some ideas of what this class could be, but again, just my theories, my speculations. These are not Bible, okay? Your ship is not canon. I think a really interesting class would be like a bard or a songstress, which would be a true support. This would not be a healer, a tank, or a DPS. It would be a utility support class, so completely different, like nothing that's in the game right now. They would provide buffs and shields for allies. They can decrease enemy damage output. They have lots of utility. Maybe they could have a DPS spec or a healing spec, but I would really love to see a true utility support in the game, and I think that like a bard or a songstress could fit that role really well. I also think that would be a very interesting character to add if it was a scourgy, demon-y type expansion, because I would think of this person as maybe like, I don't know, like kind of like a Sona in League of Legends or something, where they like were very like peaceful and graceful and holy and light and beautiful, and you know what I mean? Like, it would be a very high elf thing to be. So I think that would be a really, really interesting thing in game. And again, like, this is not anything I read anywhere. I just think it would be cool. With the whole like Dark Prophet potential leak, we heard of a new class that was possibly called a Shadow Stalker, which plays kind of similar to like a ranger. They used ranged weapons and magic, and they can heal. This actually fits the bill really well of what is needed in game right now. And then if we have like a South Seas type expansion, they could also have something that was like a gunslinger, where it was like, you know, they could use a one-handed gun to do ranged DPS. They could use two like pistols to do melee type DPS, and then maybe they could also use like a bow and then be a healer in that spec. Almost think like Tyrande in Heroes of the Storm. And then another option would be a like blade slinger, which would be like a magical melee assassin a la Katarina in League of Legends. I think there's a lot of options for what we could have as a new class. I'm just hoping it's something that's really interesting and different, because I think a new class is a huge incentive, particular for people to come back to World of Warcraft, because this expansion, when people came back to World of Warcraft, the only thing they gave them was max level content. So people who hadn't played in 2 or 3 expansions, like, yes, they could boost to 90 and level from there, but it's not the same. And I think that like leveling a new class kind of gets you back into the flow of World of Warcraft a little easier. It kind of like eases it in. Just the tip, you get it. So I think those could be some interesting classes. I would personally love to see like the bard or the songstress, but who knows really. And then as far as like new features I think we could be seeing in this expansion, when Perk and I interviewed Watcher Dev Ian Hazacostas, he talked about a transmog storage system being on the front burner of development. So I do think that we're going to see that transmog Diablo 3 style system in World of Warcraft this expansion. God, I hope. I also think we're going to see some sort of use of garrison tech, but maybe not actually garrisons, because garrisons were not particularly popular. But I think they will find a way to use that tech. And one of the things that I was thinking of with that is even like in the main city to have like a war board or a few war boards around where you just kind of like sent your followers out on missions, but like there wasn't anything mandatory to it. It's just like a kind of an incentive to log on for 5 minutes a day, whether you're going to play or not. And then this isn't something that I think is coming, but I would really love to see player housing that really doesn't serve a purpose beyond enjoyment. A lot of people thought we were getting player housing with garrisons. That did not end up happening. And I think people really just want a place to like call their own, you know, like maybe there's a building in a main city where that's everybody's house kind of, and when you walk in, you're phased and you're instanced into your own house, and really all it is like maybe a reagents vendor, a repair, an innkeeper. Maybe that's where you could do your garrison missions, but they're not really garrison missions. They're just like, you know, maybe that's where you do your missions. That's where your command board is, but it wouldn't be like garrisons where you're off and you're literally by yourself. Like you would be able to walk out and you'd be right in the city. And maybe you could display your trophies, like your archaeology trophies, or if they add raid trophies like they had said they were going to, something that really isn't not tied to professions, not anything where there's work orders and it's so mandatory, just something that's like a fun place to call your own. And I talked about this in a previous video, and I still truly believe they really need to implement more incentives to reputation. And like one of the things I had talked about in this video was kind of like, you know, if there was a sense of player housing, like if you're exalted with say Thunderbluff, you can get like special wall coloring or wallpaper that is Thunderbluff themed. Or if there's furniture, maybe there's a chair in your garrison, that chair can be kind of like more Tauren-y themed, stuff like that. Not not, because mounts are kind of dumb. They're not a good rep incentive anymore, because if you get them on one character, you get them on all characters, meaning that you can make a level 1 Tauren, level up to 20, which takes all of maybe 2 hours, and you just get them out for free. So what's the point of like grinding out rep for Thunderbluff? I don't know why I'm using Thunderbluff as an example. I just really like Taurens. But anyways, these are my thoughts and speculations on the expansion that's going to be announced. I will obviously make a video after it's announced. Hopefully I'm right about something. That'd be great. I figure I threw enough ideas out there. I have to be right about something. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, because I would love to hear what you think. Maybe I'm like completely off and you think I'm crazy and I'm out of my mind, which is pretty much true, but has nothing to do with this video. But I'm gonna go. I have a lot of stuff to get done today. I have stuff coming up with Wowhead Weekly, and I'm so busy. But I wanted to make sure I made this video because a lot of you guys asked about it as soon as the expansion announcement happened. So I hope that you guys have a wonderful weekend. If you're watching this on Thursday, tomorrow is Friday, and I will be streaming the Wowhead Weekly podcast with my lovely co-host Wowhead site manager Perculia. That is at 6 p.m. Eastern time at twitch.tv/Wowhead. Also, if you're interested, my guild's recruiting. I'll put a link in the info below. That's shameless, but I did it, not given a so I'm gonna go. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I love you all. You're in my heart, so I'll see you soon. Goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye.